Stein.
Hi.
It's not easy to get a
Hi,
hold of.
Anthony.
Nice to see you,
Good to see
Joy
you.
and Jill. How are
It's
you
been
guys
a
doing?
while since you've been on my show, sir.
I know. I remember it was a few years back, maybe 3.
Yeah,
And then last
yeah.
I saw, Jill Stein was at a fundraiser, of another virtual fundraiser. And I do not know why you don't look more tired than you do, because I know
I
you've been.
know, seriously.
But thank you so much, Jill, for doing all the work you're doing to be our voice. And
Thank you.
I years ago, somebody, it actually comes up from time to time. People are like, "Oh, you should run for office," and I'm like, I do not have any desire to do that to myself. And seriously, it's. I don't know that people are aware of the sacrifice that it takes, and I just want to thank you. So it's nice to be here.
Thank you. Well, thank you for all the ways that you do the fight. And, we need a big team. We need a big team. We need all of us fighting. And thank you for your wonderful, inspired words and your social media. And, you're just on the money all the time. It's great to hear
Hmm.
your voice.
So,
Great,
as a
great.
professor, you've been seeing a lot of these protests that have been going on. I'm in
Mhm.
Pennsylvania, and Josh Shapiro, who is
Mm.
our governor, who is being floated as president or VP, which is just
Yeah,
freaking amazing, he just passed what's called the Stand with Israel Act. And what that means is that when any schools or colleges in Pennsylvania
mm,
decide to support BDS, they no longer get a single dollar of funding
right,
from our state. So it
right.
is being held hostage.
It's
Mhm.
horrible. I
Yeah.
mean, there's two pieces to this that I've been thinking about, and the first is the piece of. Well, first of all, there's more than two. There's a whole bunch. One is using the educational system, colleges and universities, especially as a punching bag to quash dissent, and demonizing these students, as Joe Biden did, as many other Democrats did, as a whole bunch of Republicans did, for standing up for what obviously what we know is right, but using their their right, their constitutional right to redress their government, um, but to stand up to save lives, right? To use them as a punching bag, and you would expect it's a bipartisan piece of legislation. This is something I would absolutely expect from Elise Stefanik, right? Someone like that. I get that's her brand. But when Democrats, especially one who's being considered as on the short list for vice president on the Dem ticket, comes out and supports it, we know this just solidifies what Jill Stein has been saying and what we've been saying for the longest time. There really is, when it comes to some very important issues, there is no difference between the
No.
two major corporate parties. And how do you tell me I can't have a right to boycott something? It's just a bizarre, upside down way. And it's just does everything. There's anti BDS laws all over. So every day there's more people dying, more people starving in Palestine, and I think I saw a post yesterday that someone had put up about, look, and we've said this. This is not just about Gaza, and it is about Palestine and the West Bank, but it's also about, this is their playbook now, and
Mhm.
it breaks my heart
Mhm.
as a former Democrat, because there was a time that I was aligned with that party, that it's the Democrats that are perpetrating it. I mean, along with Republicans, but it's a Democratic administration. And if we are okay with this, we know that this is not going to be the last time. And all those things we should have, that Jill Stein is fighting for, that I believe in wholeheartedly, um, and these students believe in. They're so well educated. Healthcare, housing as a right, a livable wage, and it's weird. I've seen polls showing even Republicans think the minimum wage, Republican voters, right, should be over 20 an hour. I think they put it somewhere near 25, and Democrats are a little bit higher. Well, neither party is even talking about it, and I'm not hearing anybody promising it. So we know that the expense of these policies is not just the misery and death and illness that is happening in the parts of the world that the capitalist empires decide to sink their teeth into. It's also the austerity at home, and that austerity is violence, which is why I get excited about Jill Stein's message. It's not a single issue, and you really do a wonderful job of showing that relationship. And you must, when you were practicing, must have been an amazing doctor, because I think that I embrace the concept of medicine that is more holistic, that understands you don't just have a problem here. I mean, a broken ankle for sure, but you don't have a problem here or a problem there. There's systemic problems, and health happens systemically in our bodies and in society. And I think that from a social perspective in social work. But I don't get this piece. Just to wrap this part up, and that is that, like, we're talking about hiring someone for the next 4 years to do a job for us, and they never get to the things that we really need and want and demand. We don't get the health care, we don't get the free college, we don't get all the list of things we should be having. I would love, it's funny, when RFK Jr. announced, I know about the vaccine stuff and all, but I was hoping, I had this weird little wish. Imagine if he talks like his father. Imagine if he says, we will eradicate poverty. Because I didn't know a lot about him. And that's not the voice we heard. And it's too bad. Dynasties aside, there was that inkling, and then I heard the speech and I thought, oh, well, that's not happening.
Well, then now his campaign manager is ex-CIA, so there's that.
Well, I
don't know if you heard today's news.
What?
That this is in the Washington Post today, that after Trump's assassination near miss, RFK got in touch with Trump to see if he could cut a deal. Yeah, are you aware of that RFK was trying?
He went to go meet with him the morning he picked.
He wanted a job.
VP.
He wanted a job, and he would basically endorse Trump, which means he would have suspended his campaign. Right. Which to me, and this was all in secret. This is in secret. This has been confirmed by 4 people. They haven't been named. There are enough people now saying this. 4 people who are reporting it, so it sounds pretty. And to me, if you actually listen to what RFK is saying, it's just so full of smoke and mirrors that this is no surprise at all. And I mean, to me, this is like such an outrageous betrayal of his followers and his donors. And, they were just celebrating that they got this special new deal with libertarians that enables people to contribute $1 million at a time. And they're celebrating this. And I'm saying, what are you celebrating? You're celebrating the further corruption of our political system. You're celebrating that millionaires now have equal access. This is equal access for billionaires is what it is, an equal opportunity, campaign for billionaires. You're celebrating that? Oh, give me a break, and you talk about reforming the corruption of the system. This is the corruption of the system. And now he's caught red-handed, basically betraying his campaign. I don't know. What do his donors, what does his VP candidate think about this? Was she informed that he was basically cutting deals behind her back?
Probably not. Who knows? She is a billionaire too.
Yeah, she's like, whatever.
There's that. But I can't imagine anybody would be happy to clown, to find out that their top of ticket is clownifying themselves by offering to align themselves with the Donald Trump presidency. I mean, Trump is the most, I have a lot of problems with Democrats, but obviously Donald Trump is the most when it comes to policy, the most unserious candidate we've ever witnessed in our lifetime. There is nothing policy related about what we saw 4 years that made any sense. And to think that you would throw away your career, I got to tell you, power must be a hell of a drug to compromise whatever. I mean, he was an environmental advocate, an attorney. He must have some idea who that person is that he just tried to align himself with. It's just, it just shows he's not serious either. He's not serious about doing anything good. He's serious about getting.
He did have brain worms.
I'm serious.
That's what he said. He had brain worms. So, I mean, I don't know. My first reaction when I saw that he met with Trump was, why don't you have time to debate my girl, but you have time to just all of a sudden go meet with Trump? Because I troll him every day. I'm like, when are you going to debate Jill? When are you going to debate Jill? Because he is too scared to debate you. And he knows, especially about Palestine, he will just get wiped across the floor.
And he's pretending to be a peace candidate. You're not a peace candidate if you're supporting a genocidal war, which is in the process of escalating to potential nuclear conflict. So he's just so full of deception. I think that's why he does not want to debate anybody who would call him out. Now, Trump and Biden would not call him out on that because they're equally guilty. But he does not want to talk with any real candidates, any real peace candidates. So it's like all hell is breaking loose within this facade of a campaign. Just the whole edifice of the 2024 presidential election is just so full of toxic deception. It's just for all the world to see right now, and in the circus going on around Biden's retirement and this $85 million, highest number ever raised. It's like people are celebrating that, they're celebrating the stranglehold of big money on this election system, which gets bigger by the day. It gets more corrupt by the day. It becomes more and more, a thing that is done to working people that has no concern whatsoever for the interests of working people. This is all about, Wall Street and the war machine.
And I just want to say, I talk to my students. They're not just scared of world events that are happening now and very concerned about the world events, scared for their futures. Will they be able to afford to live? They're in a world.
See, Anthony just froze for me. Joy, did he freeze for you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe he'll come back in a second, but I want to underscore that. Yeah. And polls now show that half of young people are, describe themselves as hopeless about the future. And 1 out of every 4 young people have contemplated harming themselves within 2 weeks of the poll. This is like the world that has been created by, end stage capitalism, basically, and endless war and the war machine. And it's all about who's the latest cash cow for them. And young people are a major cash cow for this predatory economy. And it's just, this is fixable. This is absolutely fixable. We need to abolish student debt, make public higher education free, implement rent control, build social housing, declare the environmental emergency. That unleashes over $500 billion in funding immediately on day one. This is part of the day one agenda, not only to stop the genocide, but also declare the environmental emergency. And, this is fixable stuff, and begin working for a Medicare for all system that covers everyone and saves us over $500 billion a year at the same time that we cover everyone comprehensively. So this is fixable. This is why we need to be on the ballot. And I hope people will throw something into the into the pot tonight to help us keep up the fight, because the empire is quaking in its boots. They know that we are coming. And if we are able to get on the ballot, we need these dollars to do that. They are withholding our matching funds right now because they're terrified of what we represent. And I think this is a really devastating revelation about RFK. We may see a lot of people move out of RFK now that they know that he has basically betrayed his followers. You know, he's in this for a job, you know, and really very deceptive about what he believes and who he aligns himself with. You know, so we could see him fade from the scene. The media, mainstream media, has been very careful not to acknowledge our campaign, because we are, I think, what they are very much afraid of. They don't mind talking about RFK because they can marginalize him. He doesn't represent what large numbers of people want. I mean, there is a constituency for him, but most of the world is not libertarian. Most of the world does not pretend, you know, that we can solve these problems. Just everybody build your own castle, you know, and we'll get it. You know, we'll get it. Most people don't buy that. You know, we reflect what the American people really are demanding right now. This is what they're terrified of. So if we can get together the money, whatever you can throw into the pot, it, you know, it makes a huge difference and will help us get on the ballot. We're on the ballot for a majority of voters right now. We need to be on the ballot for all voters, so we can stand up and demand that we have an America that works for all of us and a world that works for all of us. This is within our reach. If we stand up and stand together, we are totally unstoppable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, our next guest is here, but Professor Zenkus, I want you to take us out. What do you want to add, and what do you want to leave people with about the campaign?
This is a moment that we have been given to make a decision that will affect our lives and the lives of people around the world for decades to come. And I want people to have something that I think is an overused word, like hope. But I want there to be a belief and an understanding that as defeated as we are made to feel, as tired and exhausted as we are often made to feel. And by the way, hey, I'm not a full professor. I'm working class. I live and die on the courses they offer me each year. Everyone I know, my friends, everyone is struggling. It doesn't have to be this way. I know there's a lot of fear. What if I vote for a third party? What if I vote for Stein and this happens and that? The fear needs to be pushed away, and it needs to be replaced with a belief, and I mean this in a non-religious way, a spiritual knowing and understanding. Humans have survived, the modern humans, for the past few 100,000 years, because we've been able to work together to solve our problems. We absolutely have the capacity. And when you think your voice doesn't matter, that is absolutely not true. And the way the Green Party has been treated is evidence. They are terrified because they know when the people stand together, we do win. And there's a long history of that, from the ending of slavery to child labor to women getting the vote to civil rights, and we can go on and on. It always, always works. And they know it. We need to remind ourselves of it. So please, if you're not sure, please donate, consider a vote for Jill Stein, and get involved any way you can. And thank you, Joy, and thank you, Jill, for speaking with me tonight.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining. He's wonderful. Yeah.